Hi folks, my name is Jeffrey and I am the newest member of the Saunders Machine Works team. My primary focus is developing cutting recipes for ProvenCut. We wanted to conduct some tests surfacing titanium on a Tormach 1100MX. We decided to design and make a titanium KeyBar, and we're here today to talk through some of the programming strategies and tools that we use. For Op 1 of this part, we are going to use a Saunders Machine Works mod vise and a total of 4 Mighty Bite Talon grips. So here we are with a model of the KeyBar. I'm going to walk through some of the programming and some of my logic behind my strategies. We start out with a 1/4 inch tool conducting an adaptive strategy to clear most of the material. We're going to run it at 350 surface feet per minute, 1.5 thou feed per tooth, and an optimal load of just 20 thou. 20 thou is 8% of the tool diameter, which is less than what we would be with other common materials. The reason we do this is because titanium is a very heat resistant material, meaning that during a cut, the material is not going to absorb much heat. It's going to push a lot of that heat back into the cutter. Having a lighter radial load will enable the cutter to spend more time in the coolant and in the air, less time in the actual cut building heat per revolution. So now we move on to the drilling operation. So we're using a number 4 carbide drill, running it at 100 surface feet per minute and feeding it at 2 thou per rev. We decided to use a drilling operation and plunge all the way through the material. So the upside of this is that is less times that the drill is entering the cut. The majority of the wear on a drill bit happens while the drill is actually entering into the material. So we go all the way through, we're only entering once. The downside of this that we really have to be careful of is chip removal and overall heat buildup. For this application, drilling all the way through worked great. So after the drilling operation, we move on to a 2D contour to finish the vertical walls of our part, a boring cycle to clear the bores for the counter bores on the bolts, a chamfer, and from there it is time to tackle the 3D surfacing of this part. We decided to use a 1/4 inch ball nose end mill. This is a helical tool. It has 6 flutes and it is coated with Helical's A+ coating. The higher flute count is going to make the tool more rigid in the cut, and it is going to enable us to achieve a higher feed rate while still maintaining a low feed per tooth. Helical's A+ coating allows for a high temperature resistance, decreased wear, and improved tool life. This is really important when working with a tough material like titanium. An important point to understand when you're 3D surfacing any material is the difference between your programmed surface speed compared to your actual or your effective surface speed. Here we have the shape of a 1/4 inch ball nose end mill modeled that really shows what we're talking about. When Fusion 360 calculates your surface speed of a cut, it is using the largest diameter of your tool. But if you're cutting an angle with a ball nose end mill, your actual surface speed of the contact point is going to be less than the largest diameter on your tool. So for this part, I wanted to keep the surface speed below 400 surface feet per minute. The machine that we're working with, the Tormach 1100MX, has a maximum RPM of 10,000. If we maximize that RPM, we reach a surface speed of 400 SFM at 0.153 inches. So we're able to sketch a few lines, use a few constraints, and find that an angle of 37.7 degrees will give us an effective surface speed of 400 SFM. So the question is how do we apply that to our programming? I broke this part into 3 different steep and shallow units. The first one, I maximized the RPM of the spindle, 10,000. From there, we jump over to the geometry tab we select the box for slope, and it gives us the option to machine a range of angles of the part. So in order to keep the tool below 400 SFM, I didn't want to go above an angle of 38 degrees. So for this first unit, we're machining between 0 and 38 degrees. Just like that, we're going to stay towards the bottom side of the end mill and keep our surface speed below 400 SFM. So for our next unit, I decided to program at 8,000 RPM. So the question becomes, what diameter at 8,000 RPM will give us 400 SFM? Over here, we calculated that a diameter of 0.191 inches will give us 400 SFM. So a few more lines, a few more constraints, and we see that 49.8 degrees of a cut will contact the point on the end mill. That gives us 400 SFM. So we jump over here to our second steep and shallow unit, geometry tab. Our slope ranges from 37.5 up to 50 degrees. I rounded a little bit on these numbers and have just a little bit of an overlap between my steep and shallow units just to make sure the entire part cleans up. But that's what we're doing. That's the goal, is to keep our end mill below 400 SFM. Then for our third steep and shallow unit, we programmed that to a true surface speed of 400 SFM. So that comes out to 6,111 RPM, and we're going to cover the range of 49.5 up to 90 degrees. This is going to cover the rest of our part and is going to be much larger on the actual diameter of the tool. So now, in order to hold the part for the second operation, we are going to dive into some soft jaws. We are going to use an adaptive strategy to clear the area. Follow that with a 2D pocket to finish the floor, a 2D contour to finish the walls on our soft jaws, and then follow that with a small 2D chamfer just to knock the edge off. And now we're ready for the second operation of this part. So we get over here to the back side, and it's going to be simpler than the front. So we start out with an adaptive strategy to clear the top hat off of the part, and we follow that with a facing operation. On this facing operation, we set the pass direction to 45 degrees, and the end mill will move across the part then at 45 degrees to the x-axis and leave a really cool surface finish. So we chamfer the holes just enough to knock the edge off, and then we come in for our final outside profile chamfer. One last programming tip is to select an entry point that will blend the entry mark. And what I mean by this is, even if it's just a small chamfer, the machine will leave some imperfection where it enters the cut. So for an entry position, if you select the beginning or even the end of a radius, you are much less likely to notice that entry mark.
So folks, these parts were a lot of fun to make. Getting to see the machine move all three axes simultaneously like that is really fun to watch, and these machines will make beautiful parts. Overall, these parts turned out really well. But if I had to do it all over again, then I wouldn't break it into 3 different steep and shallow operations. Overall, it made the part faster to make, but you can see some of the transition lines here between the different operations. I was talking with John about this, and he explained that that's actually a huge advantage of steep and shallow, is being able to cover many different characteristics of your part with one operation and avoid some of those transition lines.
Folks, I thought Jeffrey did an absolutely awesome job on that project. The goal was to develop some titanium recipes and some surfacing recipes for ProvenCut, but to do so in a manner of a practical product. When Jeffrey chose a KeyBar to come up with it, I had to laugh because I couldn't film this video without giving a shout out to the folks over at KeyBar. Mike, who started that company, has become an acquaintance. I've carried this for probably 3 or 4 years. It's a great product. So we'll post the files for this project if you want to go out and make your own awesome. Otherwise, I absolutely would recommend checking out the link in the description where you can pick one up from Mike and his team down in Georgia. Otherwise, folks, as always, I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. Take care. See you soon.